Joining me now Birmingham based band Fury and the frontman Julian Jenkins. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Now, I've actually seen you live. I think it was Download Festival 2022
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
in the village, on the stage in the village. So what was that like playing at Download Festival after the pandemic?
It was incredible. It was people still ask about, you sort of gigging highlights or festival highlights. And that's always one of the ones that obviously comes to mind. Playing, at Donington, growing up watching the old, Iron Maiden, Monsters of
Yeah.
Rock videos and all that stuff. And it was especially because, yeah, I mean, we actually got picked because it was the Bawdy takeover, and we got actually picked to play it the year previous, but because of obviously lockdown and everything, it got postponed a year. So we had a whole year of being excited about playing it. And I mean, on the day, it was I think because obviously that year was they were trying something different for them as well. So it was a bit like a bit unknown because it wasn't in a tent or anything like that
No.
as it is now. It was just open air, which I think was pretty cool actually. And they had all the big shipping containers
Yeah.
around. We were a bit worried about obviously the weather, being a UK festival. Like you think, oh, and 'cause it was we played on was it the Wednesday it got moved to as well, and we
Yes.
were like, is anyone going to be there? Like, and then it was incredible. Like, I mean, I don't know how many people, a few thousand people were there, and it was amazing. We had a great response. And it was the day we played was the day before my birthday as well. So my birthday's on the 9th. We played on the 8th. So I was a bit cheeky, like towards I think before the last song. I said, look, to the crowd, I said, like, it's my birthday tomorrow. Like, this is going to be a bit corny, but as it's my birthday tomorrow, like, can you scream for me, Donington? And they did. They were like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it was amazing. And the really good thing is, the next day, obviously, when going back into the because we stayed the whole weekend as you do, and going back into the village all around, people were like, oh, it was a great set yesterday. I'm like, isn't your birthday today? It's like, yeah. Can I get you a drink? It's like, yes, you can. Because like I don't know what 9, 10 quid a beer or whatever it was. Like, yes, you can get me a beer. But yeah, no, it was fantastic. It was amazing, playing there. Maybe one day, touch wood, maybe we'll get to do it again. But if not, I can say we've done it. It's one of those
Yes.
things ticked off the list.
So let's go back to the beginning. Tell us the history of Fury.
Wow. It it's still don't know where to start really. I mean, you could go right back and say that, wow, me and a few friends in school decided to put a band together, and in a way, technically, that still is this band, but realistically, I mean, nothing happened for quite a while, and it was sort of 2010 really when I met Alistair and Mart and obviously Joel, who's currently lead singer of the Bastard Sons. Um, we all wanted to, we all liked the sort of thing. We wanted to do the same thing, so we put out a couple of EPs, which I mean, I listen back to them now, like, they sound terrible, but and then went from there really, and then lineup changes as always. And we put our first album out in 2014, The Lightning Dream, which again, I listen to it back now, and there's a few songs go, oh, okay, yeah, it's all right. And we were much more, I guess, I mean, we've never really been a proper full out thrash band, but we touched a little bit on that, still with a new wave of British heavy metal kind of vibe as well. But it was all a bit more. I don't know. We wanted to be a bit more expansive, and all the songs like 8, 9, 11 minutes long, sort of thing. And then we moved on from there, and the second album, Lost in Space, came out 2016, which was very much new album sort of vibe. And culminating with our longest track to date, A Tale of Silver, which is like 13 and a half minutes long. It's not a rip-off of Romance and Marin at all, honestly. Um, and then and then things took really changed. Then we had a big lineup change in 2017, and then this sort of I'd say that's when this era of
Mm.
the band kind of began. Really, I mean, obviously got Tom Fenn on drums, Becky came in on obviously on bass, um, various guitar players, and then the sort of there was no big sit down discussion in terms of like the musical direction. I still think carried on evolving, but we're like, okay, we've done 2 albums worth of these long. big epic songs, and let's just try and write some good shorter songs now, because you're playing like a half an hour, 40-minute set, and you've got
Yeah.
all songs like 7, 8 minutes. Like, oh, we can only fit about 3 or 4 songs in the set. Um, so yeah, and we started doing that, and I like to think, I've got quite a knack for writing like a nice little ditty, little hook here or there. And I mean, I love short, catchy songs as well. Anyway, so and yeah, they kind of went more down that kind of route. And we I don't know, we always, I mean, I don't think fundamentally the music, it's still got big guitar solos, big drums, big guitars, big vocals. It's all about power and being big, and quite often quite fast as well. But yeah, we've just, we've always tried to experiment with different things, adding the odd ballad here or there. And then what was it? Then obviously throughout the albums, we've been having more and more backing vocals.
Yeah.
The first album, there are like one or two backing vocals, and then you go through the albums, and there's more and more and more until it got when we did Born to Sin. Like I think pretty much every track had backing vocals on, and then it was like, oh, we need to get someone to to do this, and that's when Nia joined the band, which obviously it was a big change again, but very organic. Like I think we kind of didn't sort of think about from the outside. That must have seemed like a huge step, like a band gets another singer to join. But for us, it just felt right, because we had all these backing vocals going on. So well, we need someone to sing them. So then Nia joined, and then Nia's got a great voice, which is
Mm.
then well, okay, let's get her doing some more lead vocal as well, and that's what happened with this album. So I think that's the sort of brief history of Fury.
So you mentioned your bass player Beckett. She's done
Mhm.
really well over the last what year?
Some would argue she's been doing well for quite some time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like she's went on tour with who was it? Won't Cradle of Filth. No, it was
Merciful Fate.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. No, she's great. She's worked well, works incredibly hard. To do what she does. I don't know how she sort of keeps on top of everything, to be honest. But I mean, she effectively manages Fury. Obviously, yeah, bass player in Merciful Fate as well, which is pretty cool. Like she did big US tour with them a couple of years ago, and did some festivals I think with them last year, and I'm sure they've got more stuff to come. As soon as King Diamond stops doing his solo thing, I think they're going to do some more Merciful Fate stuff. She did that tour with Delilah Bond last month, yeah, in August as well as other sort of various sort of stuff she does. But yeah, no, she's incredible, and she's obviously more than an asset to the band. I mean, say she practically runs Fury. To be honest, it's good. I get to do the fun stuff and come up with songs and then sort of go right there you go. Here's all the songs or whatever, and now market it for us and put them out and do all sort of the logistics out. But no, she's incredible.
So music influences. What sort of band sort of influenced you to get Fury where it is now?
It's a vast spanning question, really. I mean, there are some obvious ones. Iron Maiden is an obvious one. Metallica, ZZ Top, Motorhead. Um, but I mean, there are some. I mean, I could go through song by song. Go well. Actually, there's probably a bit of this in there, but
Mm.
um, but yeah. I mean, I'm a big Genesis fan. That's always been a part of it. Genesis, a bit of Phil Collins, so the more poppy kind of elements coming into it. Um, I could say a bit of Fleetwood Mac, maybe even. I think, especially in some of the songs on this album, especially having the dual vocals
Yeah.
thing, it was like, what would Fleetwood Mac do here? So in terms of the harmonies and things like that. Um, I mean, bloody hell, Elton John, folk music and like the Dubliners, things like that,
Mm.
like sea shanties. That's been, maybe not so much in the last album, but like I've always loved folk music, and I think that kind of really comes into it with maybe the melodies especially the vocal melodies that I write. They're quite sort of direct, straight to the point sort of thing. I mean, yeah, I could literally sit here and go through each track and go, well, actually, there's probably a bit of this in there. I mean, the wildest one probably on this last album, there is a track that I'm not gonna say the track as a whole, but like there was definitely some inspiration taken from a Faithless track, which I mean, you listen to the band side by side, or tracks up, and you go, I can't hear it, but like I kind of it's anything that sparks that
Yeah.
little seed off, and you go, oh, I could hear us doing something like this. I mean, yeah, there's a Faithless track. And it basically had at the end some great sort of vocal like female vocalizations, and that was kind of where the idea started. And the track on our latest album called Understilled, which probably had a bit of inspiration from that. Uh, Probably a bit of inspiration, a bit of Pink Floyd in there, a bit of Great Gig in the Sky kind of thing. But yeah, lots of inspirations from many different places.
Now, like we said at the start, you are from Birmingham, so I have to ask. You've probably been asked quite numerous times now. Aussie, what did Aussie mean to you?
Yeah, I'm contractually obliged, first of all, to say technically I'm from Worcester. I do live in Birmingham now, but I'm from Worcester. I've got to say that. It's it's a whole thing though. But yeah, I do live in Birmingham now and have done for quite a few years. Yeah, I mean, obviously Aussie again. When I was growing up as a sort of teenager and and getting into rock and metal, and obviously Aussie and Sabbath are quintessential, a part of that sort of thing. And I remember actually, hearing the news, it was passing. I was sat, I don't know if you know the Key Sister band. I sat with Gemma at her house, just chatting away about this and that and the other. And she looked at her phone and she had about, when you got too many messages or,
Yes.
something wrong here sort of thing. She looked at it and it was like, yeah, the Prince of Darkness has passed away. And you think, damn. And we sat there for a good few minutes just in silence, I think.
Mm. Not
Didn't
just
really
couldn't process.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those because then you think back to all the memories of the music that he made and
Mm.
that Sabbath made, and all the things, all the times in your life that it helped get you through, and the excitement of going to see a show or a new album coming out, that sort of thing. So it was yeah, it was sad. I mean, let's not lie, we knew it was coming at
Yeah.
some point. I mean, I say that there was definitely a point in my life, I guess what, 10, 12 years ago now, where, like I thought Ozzy would never die. I thought Lemmy would never die,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then, I mean, I remember when Lemmy did die, and it was like, wow, they can do
They
that. Like
can. Yeah.
I literally thought, rock and roll was going to keep him alive forever. But it was a big moment, and I'm not sort of person that get every celebrity that dies. Of course, anyone that dies, it was always very sad. But sometimes you feel like there's these outpourings of emotion. You go, "Oh, you're being genuine. You never met this person." But with I don't know, with some people, for example, like Ozzy, that sort of definitely reached out to so many people and affected so many people. Yeah, like it was, an extremely sad moment. I think as a lot of people have said, I'm glad he got to have his final gig.
Yes.
That felt like looking back on it now, like an amazing send off. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I couldn't really afford to go, but I obviously watched it on the live stream and everything. So, but yeah, no, very sad. I say a huge part of growing up, and when you sort of getting into say rock and metal, like it's and you know what, it hit me actually really. So we had that moment, and then it sounds weird, but a week or two later our drummer was depping for a Metallica tribute band, Metallica Reloaded, in Birmingham, and they were supporting a Guns N' Roses tribute band.
Mm.
And as part of the Guns N' Roses tribute band set, they played "Mama, I'm Coming Home," and it was at that moment really. Then I did start to sort of well up a bit, and I was thinking and say back to all these. Especially like those teenage years where listening to these tracks for the first time, and so yeah, very sad. But I mean, what a legacy.
Yes. Now, your new album, Interceptor. Uh, just tell us a bit about Interceptor.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, brand new album. Came out on Friday, last Friday, just gone. So obviously the big thing is that Naya is doing more lead vocal now. Like she's like dual lead vocalist kind of situation. Which is I say probably from the outside seems like, oh my God, this is crazy, but for us, I say it's all felt very organic. And I mean, she's done a great job as well. Like, and from a songwriting point of view, it is really, it's really cool because it's like all of a sudden opens up these new. I know it's like having new brushes to paint with. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we can try this, and that there are certain things that she does on the album. Like talking about the sort of vocalizations that in a couple of the songs that I wouldn't be able to do them. I'm very much like I sort of try and shout and stay in tune, and but she's like sort of soaring all over these bits and sounds incredible. So that's the big thing. Um, I don't know what else you want to know about.
Just sort of because it's the actual like album looks very sort of sci-fi, very. I don't want to say the word proggy because I know you kind of deviated away from the longer stuff, but that sort of sci-fi vibe.
It's a retro futuristic
Yes,
kind of
that's
vibe
the word.
going. Yeah, I mean, it was so. I mean, a lot of that came from obviously the track itself, Interceptor. The idea was now, first of all, it was going to be or the lyrics were going to be sort of framed as if it was like a movie trailer. So like there were some lines in it like, oh, white knuckle action thrill ride and stuff like this, which I thought was a cool idea, but ultimately I just couldn't get it to work
Yeah.
lyrically. I mean, there was a few cool lines, and then to try and keep that up throughout the whole song, it felt a bit forced. So I was like, okay, let's ditch the kind of trailer angle and just imagine it is just about this sort of 80s action, 80s retro futuristic movie called Interceptor sort of thing. So that's where the kind of idea then came from. And then, of course, then you send it to. We used Akirant to do the artwork for this one because he's done stuff for Blaze and he's done for Maiden and stuff like that. So we sent it to him. Like, here's our ideas, and then it's because then it's the input from him and his ideas, and but it turned out fantastic. Really, yeah, captures I think the vibe of the song and the album. It's weird, like I mean, I know that song in particular had that 80s kind of thought process
Mm.
behind it, but the rest of the album seems to have followed suit and almost, I don't know, unintentionally, it just, you just kind of, I guess you write what you're writing at the time and you're influenced by what you're influenced by at the time, and it all seems to work because that is, I guess, who you are
Yeah.
at that point. And obviously, I was in a particularly 80s mood when these songs were being written. Um, but yeah, and I think yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with how the artwork's turned out. He's done a fantastic job, and I think this is the thing as well. We've all our album covers, obviously quite bright, quite striking, eye catching. At least we try to make it that way. So now we're kind of almost into a corner now. It's like, oh, so the next album cover has got to be big bold colors, So what's it going to be? What's it going to be? Lol. Um, but yeah, no, I'm really happy with it. Yeah, I think it looks great.
So you're currently on tour. You did Blackpool not long ago. Uh, how is like the new songs going down live?
Yeah, absolutely going really well. Like it's that thing where you're playing them for the first time live a few times, and you're having to think about it a bit more than some of the older stuff. Because the older, you played it so many times, you just I don't even have to think about what I'm playing, and just But with the new stuff, thinking about okay, what obviously what you're actually playing and what you're going to do on stage, and I mean we would like to keep it somewhat spontaneous. There's certainly it's never particularly choreographed to exactly what we're going to do, but like it's not like a dance routine or anything like that. But like you have certain things and certain songs you might move over this way or do this or whatever. Um, but yeah, and there's things like that. There's a lot of thinking, but yeah, it seems to be going down really well. People are responding really well, and I guess normally I think bands they'll bring the album out and then maybe they'll go on tour like a month or two later, whereas we've just gone. Actually, we started the tour day before the album came out, but it was the logistics of it, and it just seemed to make sense. But it's quite cool actually because it means we're kind of there for the excitement of it. It's not like sometimes where we've done it before, where okay, it's album release day, and you go, there it is, and you go, huh. You can, and you get responses on Facebook, but it's not the same as being there and people buying it straight away. And so it's been great, yeah. And we've had a lot of good responses for the new songs. People sort of talking about their favorites, and um, it's great because it's again, as a song, especially for a band like us where we don't necessarily like to try and just do the same thing again and again. We like to try and explore different avenues. It is quite nerve-wracking when you're about to put an album out and you think, will people like this? Will they think it's terrible? Is it finished? Should we have done more? Should we have done less? And so yeah, to have such a great response like we've had is relieving for one. Yeah, definitely relieving. But also like really really cool. It's great seeing people talk about their favorite songs. I mean, people singing the lyrics back so soon as well. That's been a really
Yeah.
cool thing of the last sort of forward. I mean, so the album when it came out, obviously, I never released some singles before that, but people, yeah, like in the front rows and whatever, you can see them singing the songs back to you, and you're like, wow, that's cool. Like, so they just come out and they kind of know it already. So yeah, really cool.
So, Julian, thanks for taking the time out to have a chat with us. It's been fun, and good luck with the rest of the tour and the new album.
Thank you very much. Cheers, buddy.